Tabari and Ishaq. Walid, Aswad, and Umayyah said, Muhammad, come and let us worship that which you worship, and you worship what we worship. We shall combine in the matter, and shall make you a partner in all our undertakings.
The Kaaba Inc., the legacy of Qusay's religious scam, was still the principal game in town.
If what you have brought is better than what we already have, we will be partners with you and take our share. And if what we have is better than what you have, you shall be a partner with us in what we have, and you shall have your share of it.
Their schemes were virtually indistinguishable. They were only squabbling over ownership. Muhammad's immediate response to the Quraysh bargain should tell us all we need to know about Islam's lone prophet. He didn't say no. He hesitated, and was clearly tempted to worship Al-Lat and Al-Uzza if it meant money, sex, and power.
Let me see what revelation comes to me from my Lord.
Not Allah,
he replied.
Although I can't prove it using the Islamic traditions, in my opinion, Muhammad went to his aging wife, Khadija, and asked her what she thought he should do. After all, she had been the founder of Islam, the inspiration behind the profitable prophet plan. I think Khadija scuttled the deal. More wives would have been more competition. And although she would have relished the prestige of being a shareholder in the Kaaba Inc., what was she going to do with more money? She was over 70 years old and near death. So Khadija nixed the deal.
Then the following inspiration came from the preserved tablet. Say, O disbelievers, I worship not that which you worship, nor do you worship that which I worship. And I shall not worship that which you worship, nor will you worship that which I worship. To you your religion, and to me my religion.
Sorry, Tabari. I know that is what the Hadith says, but it just ain't so. The 109th surah from which this revelation was quoted was among the first handed down. It was revealed a decade before this bargain was struck. So what really happened? Khadija died, or was killed perhaps, and Muhammad accepted the deal. The very next line in the history of Al-Tabari, Muhammad at Mecca, confirms my theory.
Satan cast a false revelation on the messenger of Allah's tongue.
Possessed by the devil, Muhammad chose poorly. He succumbed to his demonic urgings and began to worship Al-Lat and Al-Uzza. He was finished as a prophet. While the Islamic spin masters in Baghdad tried their level best to put lipstick on this camel, the whole affair was as ugly as it was deadly. No matter how valiantly they attempted to excuse Muhammad's behavior, a pig in makeup is still a swine.
Tabari. The messenger was eager for the welfare of his people and wished to effect reconciliation with them in whatever way he could. It is said that he wanted to find a way to do this, and what happened was as follows.
Before we wallow in what follows, I'd like to poke a hole in the excuse. Muhammad's people were long gone. He had sent them off to Abyssinia for fear they would be seduced. And the notion of reconciling himself to the pagans is laughable. Muhammad had done nothing but harangue them for a decade now, calling them names barely suitable for print. They teased him, and he said, I will bring you slaughter. Sorry, Muslim apologists, I don't think so. The Isnad, or chain of reciters introducing the Hadith, reads,
Ibn Mumayyad Salama Muhammad ibn Ishaq Yazid bin Zayed al-Madani Muhammad bin Ka'b al-Qurazi.
I share this because of what happened to Salman Rushdie. He wrote a novel based upon what these champions of Islam had to say. Muslims went berserk. They had Rushdie's book banned and panned. They nailed satanic verses to crosses and burned it during hostile rioting. The Ayatollah Khomeini, the leader of the Islamic world at the time, put a fatwa on Rushdie, offering his fellow Muslims $1 million for the writer's head. Yet Rushdie had merely exposed Islam's own traditions. So why did they get mad at him? Was Muhammad so perverse and Islam so corrupt that modern clerics have to hide the truth for their doctrine to survive? Apparently the answer to that question is yes. This is what follows.
Tabari and Ishaq. The messenger saw his tribe turn on him. He was pained to see them shunning the message he had brought from Allah. So he
abandoned both his message and his God because he
longed for something that would reconcile his tribe to him. With his love for his tribe and his anxiety over this, it would have delighted him if the obstacle which had made his task so difficult could be removed.
So he could accept their generous offer of power, sex, and money. The only points of contention, thus obstacles to reconciliation, were Kaaba custodianship, the number of gods, and the top god's identity. Was he Allah or Ar-Rahman?
So Muhammad debated with himself and fervently desired such an outcome. Then Allah revealed, "By the star when it sets, your comrade does not err, nor is he deceived, nor does he speak out of his own desire."
In truth, he did all three, and was about to prove his guilt.
And when it came to the words, "Have you thought about Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat?" Satan, when he was meditating upon it and desiring to bring reconciliation, cast on his tongue, because of his inner longings and what he desired, the words, "These are exalted, high-flying cranes," or goddesses. Verily, their intercession is accepted with approval.
Simply stated, Mohammed said, "I accept the Quraysh bargain." But at what cost? The Quranic recitals had been filled with assertions that there were no intercessors, and 4 gods is at least 3 too many for a monotheistic religion. Mohammed had therefore abandoned the central plank of his mission. There is no ilah but Allah. Islam was no longer monotheistic. What's more, the Prophet's grandiose and messianic claim of being Allah's intercessor was pummeled, stoned by a trio of rock idols. And that wasn't the worst of it. Islam's lone spokesperson had just aligned himself with Satan. It's little wonder the Ayatollah wanted Rushdie's book burned. It's little wonder the Quran urges Muslims not to pry too deeply into Islam or ask questions. The truth is devastating. The Quraysh bargain and Satanic verses confirm that Muhammad was demon-possessed, and that the Quran was inspired to advance his personal agenda. These hadiths prove Islam was a fraud, as counterfeit as a $3 bill. What's more, the profitable prophet plan has been elevated from highly probable to undeniable. But the Islamic hadith was not finished bearing its prophet.
Tabari and Ishaq. When the Quraysh heard this, they rejoiced and were delighted at the way in which he spoke of their gods, and listened to him. When the Muslims, trusting their prophet in respect to the message which he brought, did not suspect him of a vain desire or slip, when he came to the prostration, having completed the surah, he prostrated himself, and the Muslims did likewise, obeying his command and following his example.
Now you know the reason why the world is in such a mess. A demon-possessed man sought to satiate his vain desires, and billions, failing to suspect his fraud, followed his example and obeyed his commands. If you were a Muslim reading these words, flee this delusion before it's too late. This despicable man and his demonic spirit are not worthy of your soul.
Tabari and Ishaq. Those polytheists of the Quraysh and others who were in the mosque likewise prostrated themselves because of the reference to their gods which they had heard, so that there was no one in the mosque, believer or unbeliever, who did not prostrate himself. Then they all dispersed from the mosque.
In the context of the Quraysh bargain, this passage proves that Islam was nothing more than Muhammad's scheme to take what rightfully belonged to others. It was his personal gateway to money, to power and sex. The Kaaba Inc., the religious scam of the Patriarch Hussein, was being cashed in by a covetous and amoral man. The evidence is undeniable. Islam was a plot, not a religion. Allah and Satan are one.